Hello, and welcome to another episode of Mack's Headroom. Um, I've had a very chaotic morning. No, don't worry, I'm not going to turn this into one of those shows where they talk all about their life and shit. But as I mentioned last time, I was having trouble with the suburban heroin epidemic in my apartment, and it's been escalating all morning. So excuse me if I'm not at my best. But I am a little pumped up. See, I got a little distraction. Everybody needs a little distraction. So, um, anyway, it's funny because I made a great tape. It was really great. And then I started exporting it after watching it a couple times, and I thought about it, and I said, you know what? This is going to get taken off the fucking air. Um, because I was very self-expressive about some things. And the reason that was because I was trying to keep clinical language out of it. But in a way, I almost can't not do that because then it may seem like I'm slamming or something. Russ, read my lips. But so I'm going to try to do this over again and be a little bit more clinical or whatever. But let me go on before I say anything, okay? The purpose of this video is for harm reduction purposes only. I am not intending to malign anybody. I'm not monetized. I'm not making any money doing this. It is purely harm reduction purposes, and it's from a licensed clinical social worker in the state of Illinois. Okay, so I know what I'm saying. Okay, so anyway, uh, I realized that I've been all into the circular thing with y'all, trying to look at all the different parts of the manor. I happened to be watching a video of Justice Sluething's, and boy, that was a great pick, Justice, of something called the MANORHORN, and I want to talk a little bit about that and some other things. But basically, what happened to me was that. Again, I want you to remember something, okay? This is like the toned down version, okay? So anything I say, you can sort of amp up a few, okay? So anyway, yeah, I'm more worried about the algorithm because I have such a large viewership. But anyway, here we go. So after seeing Justice Slute's fine pick, which centered on this thing called the Matterhorn, I realized that I was like really angry. See, that's polite, right? I was really angry. No, I was more than angry. I was sort of like nauseated and pissed, and I felt terrible for the young lady. Even if she was hypnotized, I don't care. What I saw was very akin to what I did some other videos on, which was a little video clip that was about the Ray Soup torture video, where I just review for a second. It's these like bizarre guys that are like nurturing a person while he's forcing himself to eat some kind of bullshit. People wondered if it was a snuff flick or not. It isn't, but it was made. As a matter of fact, the Ray character came from a ex-Disney employee. But anyway, it's a sickening video is the point. It's disgusting, and it had like when you think about it, and then people started to wonder if it was real or not. It didn't matter because some sick idiot thought that up, and so what I saw in the Matterhorn was a very closer version to what was metaphorically expressed in the Ray Soup torture video. How's that for professional sounding? See, not slamming anybody. So anyway, really, what happens basically, I couldn't even figure out the task because at one point I was asking myself, like, there's something staged here. Like he was saying she was 160 feet in the air and he was scared. I didn't believe that, but it didn't matter. She had to jump from one platform to another. But that doesn't matter either. It's like, really, it doesn't matter. What mattered is that he got her into a state of mind that she was so petrified with fear. And she had entered like a couple of states, as I remember, that aren't good places to be, okay, mentally. I mean, they're survival tactics, but they're not good places to be. At one point, I think she reported that she was going to another place, that she didn't feel like she was really there. Well, that's called dissociation. You probably all know that. And that's not a good thing. And because that means you can't handle something and your mind is taking you away because it's so awful what you're experiencing. Real stage tape, I don't give a fuck. Doesn't matter, okay? Um, and then she got what we would call hypervigilant. And that's a very uncomfortable place to be. Because what hypervigilance is like you want to do something, but you're only going to think about all the bad things that could happen if you did. And that's what she got locked into her head, was if I leap into this other platform or something, that I'm all I can get out of my head is the thoughts of the bad things that are going to happen. That's a fucked up place to be. Not knocking her. I'm knocking that Russ induced this kind of fear. And then the worst part about it is that he tried to nurture her, just like in the Ray Ray Soup video, and was saying, you can take it a little further. And then when he wanted to back off because he knew he was going nowhere, and he would say, that's okay, just step down, take it easy. Yo, I love you. This is my honey. I wanted to fucking puke. It was disgusting. And, you know, young lady, whoever you are out there, boy, I hope you're okay. You know, I really want to say, even if you don't need it, go see a counselor or something, because I don't know how one could live through something like that and not take it away in a bad, it not having an influence you in a negative way, other ways, unless you just talk to somebody about it, maybe your family or something, I don't know, whatever. But my heart's out to you. That was an awful, nasty experience that done to you. And Russ, here's where, see, I got afraid that I was going to get taken off the air. But, you know, let me say something. I'm a clinician, okay? And I worked for 30 years with some very nice people, but also some very messed up people. Pedophiles. I had a specialized sex abuse treatment program. It's called Forensic Treatment Associates. And, you know, I know people that are demented. And while I'm not going to malign you and diagnose you, I'm going to say that you act a lot like, okay, some pretty nasty people that I've run into. Oh, I hope that's polite. One thing I want to say, since you disclosed it yourself, is that, you know, everybody, especially your ex-wife or whatever, Carol, you know, says that you have OCD. You don't have OCD. That's a prettied up way of saying you got mental health problems. You know, they always refer to her having to walk back and forth through the door 30 times, and that's an example of how he has OCD. That's not the case at all. OCD is a phenomenon where you get a thought, and it's an uncomfortable, irrational fear. And the way you make it go away is by believing that you have to do something goofy, like some kind of ritual, to make it go away. Or maybe you have to yourself walk back and through the door 50 times to do it the right way so something bad doesn't happen. You follow? But getting somebody else to walk through the door 50 times is a power and control move. Okay? It's a like sadistic move. And let me also be clear that I don't, you know, I've heard people talk about this being like a fetish. I have to say, in my clinical opinion, it is not, and I'll tell you why. A fetish is a like sexual aberration. It's something that falls out of the norm, that has to be present in order for sexual gratification to take place. So if you're into balloon popping, which some people are, it just means that in order to have a successful sexual experience, you have to be popping balloons at the same time. Okay, you know, that's a fetish. This is not a fetish. Okay. Yes, I do think it has a very deeply sexualized, animalistic sort of thing. But you know, when I saw Russ nurturing her, it was like the worst example of what I'll call sadistic behavior. That's about the only clinical term I'm going to use with him, is that he's very sadistic. And you know, I saw somebody who knows him, who didn't even know what he was saying really, but he made a comment. He was a friend, a one-time friend, and he said, well, you know, the thing about Russ is that he's like a chameleon, and that's why he gets away with all this bullshit. And I thought, wow, that's really cool, you know, because actually that's what he is. You know, sometimes he's a total jerk, asshole, that's to put it nicely, and then other times he's like this in this MANORHORN, where he's like, you know, petting and like nurturing this girl like up and down in fear and relief. And then another interesting thing happened, which I don't know if anybody noticed, but he seemed to release her somehow from the notion that she had to do it or was bad if she didn't. And all of a sudden she calmed down. Like, to me, that was like when you're going to come out of hypnosis when I count to three, 1, 2, 3, you know? I mean, in a way, that somehow that happened. Because if you notice, she got much more objective and rational at that point. But my heart goes out to you, my dear. Whether you think it was good or not, at this point, I don't think it was probably very good. And I hope you can heal from it. Also, I wanted to make reference to watching the video of who I found out was Wolfstar. I guess, gosh, I can't remember your name. I'm sorry. But maybe it's better. It's Wolfstar, okay? You know, Wolfstar is a guy who was put in a position that he couldn't win. And God damn it, you know, he's a fighter, man. I mean, he was fighting back and saying things that he wasn't, you know, God bless you, bro. You know, but he was put in a position he couldn't win. You know, there was no way. And I'll give you examples of why. Okay, somebody could carry a bunch of dog food on their back in a trench for a while, you know, and fall down a few times. Okay, I could see that. But see, it started to get worse and worse. And this is before he walks into the manor, right? And then he has to do the turtle. Oh, my God. What the interesting thing about the turtle was they set it up so you couldn't win again because it started out, like, I think, like crawling, and then it turned to walking. But then it turned to, and then they were confusing you as to what direction you were going. So, I mean, they were deliberately fucking with you. You know, you couldn't win. It's just, no matter how strong you want to be, bro, it wasn't, you couldn't do it. You made a good try, but they set it up like that. Just having a 2 or 3 on 1 is not right, you know? But you couldn't crawl on your belly with a weight on it and get the distance he wanted. Then let's talk about the pool of water. You know, the worst thing I observed as an outsider, and God bless you, you did it, man. I think. But I got to tell you something. That was a no-win situation. You know, he might have cut you some slack there, bro, because the box was too small for anybody's body to be able to submerge it, especially the way he was trying to take your legs and put them over the edge. He wanted you to like tip upside down and start, you know, gasping and taking water in your nose. I saw you were smart. You pinched your nose. I mean, you're a fighter, dude. But, you know, I just thought that it was a terribly sadistic setup to make someone who really wanted to, you know, whatever your motivation was, man, you know, like it didn't seem like it was bad, you know, he set it up so you couldn't even go into the fucking haunted house that you wanted to go in the first place. And I think traveled from Pennsylvania, if I'm not mistaken. What an asshole that guy was. And I respect your efforts on video, you know, in trying to, in the Wolfstar thing, you know, in trying to rid the planet of vermin, you know. Yeah, that was real clinical, right? But anyway, I also want to appeal to some other people who are interested in either Russ's group or the offshoots of it. Let's keep it there. I don't want to malign like all the haunted houses, but it has a couple of generations, at least that I know of, and there may be even more, that are that style of haunted house, like take it as far as you can. Because I got a feeling, like I said before about the actors, that they're just as messed up as Russ is. And in many ways, I said it's like Manson and the family. And all 4 of them, or 5, I don't know, were you know, really not nice people. And to be feared, really. So I don't know that you can trust any of these direct, you know, or in several generational, you know, any connection to them, I think is just not in the service of what really a haunted house, from what I've also read about. Maybe I'll do a tape on what a real haunted house is supposed to be, because, you know, one of the things is that I mentioned before, there's no standards. There's no standards. So anyway, I was so mortified by those 2 things, watching how they kept making it harder and harder to win. Like they wouldn't give you a fair fucking chance, Wolfstar. And in the case of, I don't know your name, I'm sorry, well, maybe it's better, but you know, with the MANORHORN thing, MANORHORN, that must have just been awful, awful. So I want to appeal to people that are, you know, saying, oh, well, you know, like, you know, I can do it, it won't hurt me, or whatever. I would suggest not to get into it, and I'll tell you why. If you don't care about yourself, And I think you probably do. But why enter into like an agreement to mortify someone who is having some very deviant experiences uh, that he gets out of offering this service to you? How's that for professional, huh? But let's, just remember everything's so like about the fourth power. So um, that's I can't be phony about it. But I want to warn you, this is in the service of harm reduction. If it ever fucking existed, and I'm a professional, it's not like I'm just somebody who's using that to make a video while he takes acid. But I really do believe it in the service of harm reduction that it's bad. And I guess I just wanted to close up by saying both Wolfstar and Justice Sluething, I don't know what you say, kudos to you or white light or whatever. I really, especially after seeing both of those tapes, I was just so mortified about Russ. And I realized that I haven't really addressed him as a part of the whole yet. And I really had to include him. It was like I really didn't want to attack Russ because that's linear thinking. That's like A leads to B. He's the bad guy and everybody's a victim. And so I tried to circularize it more. And I think that I still want to keep it circular, because everybody, I said it takes two to tango, and you all got the reasons to go through this. But I want to warn you, just as a professional, and I'm not throwing that around. I feel like I have to keep validating myself so I don't get, the tape taken off. So bear with me, huh? But be very aware because you're dealing with a very sadistic person. I mean, that I think I get away with saying. It ain't no fetish, and it ain't no like self-development, push yourself. I don't know, whatever, new experience. Find another way, please. You're gonna hurt yourself, and you're gonna feed the needs of perhaps a couple of generations of sickos. And I don't think that it's wise for you to do that. I don't mean to be judgmental. But I just want to say one other thing. If any of you have been following me, I really appreciate it. I'm not going to play the will you subscribe and all that stuff, but I just really wanted to thank you. And I've talked to some of you, via little comments and stuff, and I enjoyed that. And feel free to send me more if you like. And I really appreciate it because I don't have a lot of viewers. I'm not out to be famous, but I have fun doing this. Maybe it's my distraction. Who knows? Obviously, as I told you last time with the junkies out in the front, I do definitely need a distraction. Anyway, I don't know. But with that in mind, thank you very much. And this has been another episode of Inside the World of Max Headroom. Thank you.